Well, what would you say to somebody who is struggling with the hypocrisy in the church, deconstructing, wrestling with their doubts? What piece of advice would you give to somebody like that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell them is it's absolutely okay to go through that. What caused me to go into such sort of a visceral doubt is that I never encountered anybody going through it in the church or telling me it was okay to go through it. The church always stood, like, they assumed the truth of everything they believed and then taught on that. So anybody who was doubting was sort of marginalized because either it wasn't talked about or wasn't, it made everybody else uncomfortable in the room, So I want to give a person who is going through a time of doubt encouragement that it's okay. And you can see that in Luke 7, if you'll read through the passage on John the Baptist sending his disciples to Jesus to say, hey, are you the one who is to come? Are you the Messiah, or should we look for another? And it's a really important passage for us because he's the prophesied messenger of the Messiah, and he's asking him, are you the Messiah? If he can have a doubt, so can we, right? So I want to encourage that. And then I want to say, always consider what you're going to. Okay, so deconstruction is all about picking apart the Christian faith, if you're a Christian. Right. So you pick apart the Christian faith and people will say, this is a problem for me, or this part of, maybe it's the problem of evil. Maybe it's the science and religion or whatever they're trying to work through. But then they don't talk about, so if I don't believe in Christianity, then what am I going to believe? And really work through that, deconstruct that worldview as well. What are you going to? So I ask this because I think what's happening is a lot of the Christian philosophical framework is actually coming along into that new belief, but they're saying they reject it. So like a basis for good and evil, justice, injustice, things like that are seeping along, or creeping into like an atheism, where at the base of the universe is void of good and evil, or, those kinds of notions of justice and injustice. That's not in that framework. So if you are a person who is very much committed maybe to this idea that there is justice in the world, then you need to ground that. Yeah. And if you're deconstructing Christianity, which provides a solid basis for things like that, or for idea like hope or human rights, you got to say to yourself, well, what am I stepping into? Because that's so important. You're not walking into a void. You're walking into another philosophical framework. And what does that entail for you?
Yeah, you got an image of somebody who, like takes apart a computer or something to learn how it works and to re-examine it. And maybe some people are kinesthetic learners in terms of their spiritual and philosophical views as well, and they need to re-examine. But if faith deconstruction is a kind of pulling apart of your belief system and church experiences to really examine each part of it, and I think one thing that your story shows us is that deconstruction doesn't always have to lead to deconversion. And I really liked how, I think you tweeted that once, and I really like that.
Yeah, I did. I don't think it ends up there. Sometimes when you deconstruct something, it just ends up in you really understanding it better.
Yeah, so it's okay to doubt, and doubt sometimes leads us to better places and better spiritual growth as well.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You can grow to understand your God. You can grow to have a stronger relationship with him in knowing who he is.